Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. And how you doing? It's Thursday. Here's the best thing about Thursday. It's one day away from Friday. So got a great show lined up for you. Lots to talk about. Afghanistan, we'll mention it briefly. It'll be covered everywhere else. Multiple explosions at the airport. It looks like suicide bombers. There are American casualties. I don't know any more than that, and I'm sure all the other mainstream outlets will carry it for you. But again, just remember what I've been telling you. The similarities to the 70s are so striking, and Joe Biden is inept. He's not up for the job. He doesn't have the faculties. Listen, he never did. You know, good old Uncle Joe, the 50-year politician that, again, has he ever produced a single piece of legislation of any kind? You hear these bills named after people, and you know what they've been involved in. He's nothing more than, I'm going to say this, nice guy, yes man, who now has limited capacity and obviously ignored all of the advice of the advisors, and here we are. So we'll briefly talk about that. I probably won't talk about it again. I'm done talking. You know what, matter of fact, I'm done talking about it. We got a lot of other things to get to, but before we do, I got to tell you, and I know I talk about it all the time, but it's so important. Talking about CBD, My Kind CBD, what they do for the radio station, but what they've done for me. I'm not going to talk about anybody else's story today but mine. I played a round of golf. I'm really getting excited. I'm 51 years old, and I'm on the verge of playing the best golf of my life. And I played with a friend of mine. We've been friends a long time. We've been playing golf together for 20 years. And he's seen, put it this way. When I first met him, I didn't even weigh 200 pounds. So now I'm 300 pounds. So this tells you how long it's been. We haven't played golf. Our schedules just haven't been working out. We haven't played a round of golf together in like a year. We played yesterday. And I'll just tell you this. Off the tee box, he was always 5 to 25 yards farther than me. Always. Sometimes more. Not anymore. Now it's the other way around. At the end of the round, he went on and on. He goes, I've never seen you play so well. It's incredible. You're actually hitting the ball farther now than when you were in your 30s. And I told him, I said, it's all because I'm taking this CBD thing. And he knows my history. My back's a mess. And I still have to get surgery on, on my 6 and 7, and they're, all of these things. And I told him, I said, some of it was really obvious at first, but like the little things. And I said, Todd, I can turn my back. I can rotate my hips. I can rotate my shoulder. That's what it is. And my body's just been so beat up, I couldn't do it before. I'm telling you, it can. If you're like me and your body's beat up and you got the aches, try it. It's going to help you. I know it will. If you got trouble sleeping, take it at night. It will help you. If you want to soak in the bathtub, it will help you. If you're battling cancer, it will help you. If you've got, surgical scars and the soreness around those scars, it will help you. Give it a shot. Go out, 1360 KHNC, hit the shopping cart button, and try it. That's all I'm asking. Give it a shot. If you're tired of taking your painkillers, if you're tired of taking the Advils and the Aleve and the Motrins and all that, give it a shot. Plus, here's the other benefit. It helps the radio station. 1360KHNC.com. Hit the shopping cart button. Keep your votes coming. Make sure you vote for who you want to hear. This competition is tight. Tight. So get your votes cast there as well. You go out to 1360, right at the very, very top. It's just answer one survey question, click on it, vote for who you want to hear, and we'll give you the results here next week as we get ready for the new schedule change. All of you that don't know, I'm going to be doing 3 hours of radio starting Tuesday, the first Tuesday in September. I want to say it's the 7th. Jason and I, we got new programming coming. It's going to be great. We're so looking forward to it. Got great things happening everywhere. The gold markets today are up today. Jackson Hole has started. Right? Well, think about this right now. Here we go. The central bank and a small group of billionaires get to talk about what's going to happen. And I just find it so upsetting. Because how does a group of people, a small group of people, these bankers, if you will, who we don't even get to vote on, we get no say of who they are, how did they get all this power? Now, if he says the wrong word, says the wrong thing, right? The Dow could lose 1,000 points. If he says the right thing, he could gain 1,000 points. No one should have that kind of power. And of course, they really, truly don't know what they're doing. And today we're going to go over exactly all the smoke and mirrors that we've been living with and how big the house of cards really is. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. We had jobless claims. You get them every Thursday. 353,000 people lining up at the unemployment line for the very first time. Better. I mean, I think we're at this new level now, say 350 to 375 a week. That's a lot of people. It used to be 200 to 240. So we're still well above where we were. Here was the interesting part of the number. When you add up all the benefits. We dipped below 12 million people last week. This week we went back above it. So the amount of people not working and being in emergency programs and things of that nature continued to rise. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. And listen, it's only going to be solved one way. You got to pay a lot more money. People aren't going to go back to work and get off the government's dole unless they're going to be making a lot more money. And we're finding out. Here's what we're finding out. $15 ain't enough. $18 ain't enough. $20. It's not enough. But, we've been conditioned, right, to trust these central bankers. Yes. Right? They're the ones that we need to rely on. And think about what has that really gotten us? I mean, really. Boom and bust cycles. We have more people than ever before. By all metrics, not just number of people, percentage of people, you name black, white, Hispanic, ethnicity, you name it, doesn't matter. All metrics. On the dole of the government than ever. We have the middle class that had been slowly shrinking, now shrinking immensely. And let's face it, if they used a proper figure to define what middle class was, we would find out that the middle class is a whole lot smaller than they even admit to. Right? Because I think in their eyes, they're still thinking you can make $30,000 and not be dirt poor. It just doesn't work that way. But I want to point out some things, and I want to give credit here. There's a great article done by Mike Leibowitz. If you want to go check it out, realinvestmentadvice.com. He laid out some great facts about these people that are sitting there. They're not even meeting. They're having a virtual Jackson Hole meeting right now. Over the last 15 years, debt has grown at 7 times the rate of tax receipts. 4 times more than economic growth. So think about this. Debt has grown 400% faster than economic growth, because the more they print, right, the less bang for the buck we get. I go back to what Jeff Gunlotch was saying, and I want to be clear, and he made it very clear. He's not warning you today about what's going to happen 2 or 3 months from now. I told you what he said. Yesterday I played you a clip of what he said. I'm going to tell you right now. I hope you heed his advice. I hope you heeded my advice. But a lot of people, you haven't done it yet for whatever reason. You don't have much time. I mean, we're talking a handful of years. Anywhere, and again, I'm ballparking. Anywhere from 1, depending on, how bad it gets, 1 to, would be the best, maybe 1 to 6 years. That's about, at any point in that time, it could happen. If you go out to allamericangold.com today, David Morgan was out. A lot of you know David Morgan. He's a major silver analyst. That's how he makes his money. But he was out saying, hey, get ready. Another financial crisis is coming. The bail-ins, right? It's illegal now for bailouts. I keep trying to tell everybody, you don't own the money that's in the bank. Right? It's owned by a private institution. It's not owned by you. Now, I think he's overly generous in what you're going to get, but if you want to read it or listen to it, you can. And you start thinking about what's happening out there. The odds of the increasing gap between spending and tax revenue, is that any better? Now, he uses a Miami stripper. I'll use the baker in California that could make good on loans on 5 houses in a condo. Right? Go back, right, to remember the housing issue, right? Everybody, liar loans, all of that. How is this any better than that is the question. And really, when you start looking at how all of this is breaking out, whether you look at the Fed's balance sheet, whether you look at the national debt, the government's interest expense currently is less than 8% of expenditures. Now, for most of us, well, what does that mean? Well, with interest rates at 0 or near 0, we've been able to borrow all of this money and not have it take up a huge portion of tax receipts. By the way, just so people know how, trying to find the right word, how ridiculous this is and why we're going to pay a price for it. This is the lowest percentage since 1947. And of course, remember what was happening before the 1940s. World War II, our expenditures were going up. But as far as interest goes, we're only in this predicament now. And I call it a predicament because it's allowed for this debt to get so massive. This is the biggest drug high, if you will, that we've ever been on. and it can't continue. Total federal debt since 1966 has risen 8,320%. You heard that right. Federal debt to GDP was just under 40% in 1966. So think about what that really means. In 1966, we probably had a GDP, I don't even know. I should have looked it up. Maybe it was 3 or 4 trillion. Okay. And we had a debt of, maybe, well, it wasn't even 3 or 4 trillion because it was less than 40%. So my guess is maybe it was 2 trillion. That's probably more like it in 1966. And we had a deficit, a federal budget deficit, that was 40% less than that. Well, it was only 40% of that number. Today, right, we know we've got a GDP of, let's call it 21 trillion. We've got total federal debt. We don't know. We know this. Whenever they pass the debt ceiling, whatever that is, we're going to have a federal debt of 29 trillion. It's going to be 30 trillion. Let's call it 30 trillion. It's going to be 30 trillion in January. So we went from a debt to GDP of under 40% to 130%. Interest expense declined by $46 billion. So think about last year's budget. We paid $46 billion less in interest, even though Treasury debt rose $7 trillion over that year. So we haven't even paid for the interest yet. He calls it Federal Reserve magic. But unlike the baker or the stripper and other over-leveraged homeowners, the Fed can monetize, which we've seen. Right? You got to remember, they've got $9 trillion. Well, not quite. They're not there yet. But by the summer of next year, they'll have a balance sheet of over $9 trillion. And you start really looking at, okay, what has really happened here? And I want to go back to what Jeff Gunlot said yesterday. This isn't real GDP. All this we're doing is spending money to consume, handing out checks to consume. We're not producing anything behind it. And when they sit there today at Jackson Hole, and you're going to hear, we're already heard, who was it? Bullard was out, Esther George, the Kansas City Fed. Oh, yeah, we should start talking about tapering, or we should start tapering. Just know this. Just like the last time they talked about tapering. And remember, they actually pulled it off, didn't they? They pulled it off for, well, how long did we taper the last time? Right? We actually shrunk the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve a few $100 billion before we had to blow it up again. And really, what does this mean for all of us? Why is this problem? And the problem that they have is all in the numbers I just gave you. They've already printed too much. By design, fiat money's always been unstable. And unfortunately for us, because of the way politics is run here, being bought and paid for by the bankers. We've allowed them to have even more control. Every misstep they make, what seems to happen? Do they get less power or more power? Right? Do they end up having to be held accountable or less accountable? And what we found out here is they've brainwashed everybody into thinking that this banking system's a good thing. Right? The school, we talked about it. Me and Jason talked about how the schools are really our re-education camps. Right? They're the ones that have dumbed us all down. And now most people believe, oh yeah, this is, the dollar's been around for 10,000 years. Right? Pay no attention to the fact that we've only been a country for 200 and some odd years, but it's been around forever. And this is the only system ever. It's going to lead you, it's going to lead all of us to economic ruin. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. Krispy Kreme donuts. They announced the price of everything is higher. And starting next month, the cost of donuts are going to be higher. They said flour, butter, milk, oil, sugar. I think that's pretty much every ingredient needed to make a donut, forcing the company to raise its prices in September. He said that the cost of one donut is now going to be $1. Wow. For a donut? I don't, I'm getting a little older, but I remember when donuts were a quarter. Now you're talking about a Krispy Kreme over $1. But what really made it impactful, they listed everything. My wife was at the store yesterday. And I say that because, we're empty nesters now. And I got to tell you, it's been a tough adjustment. I mean, we used to go to the store every week. And sometimes, you had to make that secondary trip because, we wanted to make this or that. Oh, wow, we got to get this or that. And you go and you buy, you go to the store, you're going to buy one or two things that you needed to make dinner, and you end up with, 15. Now, for us, like a loaf of bread, we used to go to Costco and buy the extra big loaves, and we'd buy 2 of them. Now we buy 1. We don't go to Costco anymore, by the way, because we don't need to. And we've got to put it in the refrigerator. And even then, 30 days later, there's still half a loaf left. A gallon of milk, that's a ridiculous amount of milk now. It's crazy. I don't think we had gone to the store in at least 3 weeks. And she actually came to the office to drop off because we needed toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that. And she said to me, she goes, "It's happening again." And I said, "What's happening again?" The stores are running out of everything. And she was talking about, the toilet paper, the paper towels, water, and all of these other things. And then yesterday, Bloomberg ran an article talking about the largest food distributors in the United States, saying that they're having difficulties fulfilling orders as a lack of workers weighs on the supply chain. Distribution giant Cisco, North America's largest wholesale food distributor, is turning away customers in areas where demand is exceeding capacity. I'm sorry. Oh, you wanted to order today? No. Can't take your order. Worse, food inflation is about to soar. the company said. I thought food inflation already soared. Apparently not. Prices for key goods, such as chicken, pork, paper products. Have you seen you know what it costs for paper towels and toilet paper? It's absolutely ridiculous. Take out packaging are sky-rising amid tightening supplies. They said production has slowed for high-demand, labor-intensive cuts like bacon, ribs, wings, tenders. I can tell you about wings. Because a good buddy of mine owns a bar restaurant here in town, a big one. It's not a chain, but it's a big one. Box of wings used to be $70 to $80. That's now $180. Cisco says, get ready. That's not even the price shock. And remember, I did the article, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, a major grocery chain CEO said, wait till you see what happens this fall when it comes to grocery prices. And now Cisco, the largest distributor out there, says it's only getting worse. There are certain areas across the country that are more challenged by the labor shortage, and our volume of orders is exceeding our capacity. This has unfortunately led to service disruptions for some of our customers. And I hate to say it, but just like the central bank, how is this all happening? The central bank has created all of this debt. Is it any different? Is it any different than that baker in California that somehow was able to buy 5 houses? Or that stripper in Miami? How is it any different? All as they did is pretended they didn't do it by bringing down these interest rates to ungodly levels. 0. Handed out money everywhere. And now all of a sudden, is anybody surprised? Hey, we can't produce this much. We're running out. And who's more likely to be affected? My guess is smaller towns are going to have issues. Do you think for 1 minute that they're going to deliver to a mom and pop before they deliver to one of the big guys? Listen, this is going to be an absolute destroyer of jobs. It's just like the price, take cattle. They talked about chicken and pork in this article. Take beef as well. The ranchers aren't making the money. I mean, what ranchers are getting paid for their cattle or their hogs or their chickens isn't skyrocketing. Of course, guess what? Everything they need to feed them is. It's the giant meat packers that are making all the money. Get ready, folks. You haven't even seen inflation yet. Do you think this is a magic show? Honestly. Let me ask you something. Besides the incredible amount of debt these morons have unleashed upon all of us without our permission. No one asked us. And they claim that they're here for us. They're not. They're here for Wall Street. That's it. Already I can see the writing on the wall. It's going to be another great wipeout of small business here in America. Cisco United National, all of these huge distributors are like, hey, we don't have the capacity. One of them said hiring a truck driver is next to impossible. It's not impossible. Pay more money. Period. How much do you got to pay? Well, how about $100,000? Yeah, you heard me right. This is what is the effect of what these morons have done. Think about this for a minute. Some people have gone a year and a half without paying the rent and still get to stay. Don't worry, don't pay. Student loan debt, yeah, you don't have to pay. Right? But, hey, here's some checks. Well, what do I got to do to get these checks? Well, nothing. Here you go. Hey, I'll tell you what we're going to do. You don't work, and we'll pay you even more money. Then, here's the great part. We were able to borrow trillions of dollars and not have to pay more interest. What a great plan that was. Does that sound productive to you? Does that sound anything close to sound logic at all? Right? If you didn't know and you were in a bubble and you came back 15 years later and you saw what was happening, you'd be like, what is going on? Everybody's lost their stinking mind. You'd probably be like, where's the Dow? A couple thousand? No, it's 35,000. Do you see the bubble yet? Do you understand at all what's coming? You have no idea. I have no idea. Usually I'm always light. I'm too optimistic, which is so funny because they're, Double, you're so doom and gloom. Listen, I give you real information. Whether you choose to use it or not, that's on you. You know, you go to church to fulfill your spiritual needs. You listen to this show because you want to know what is coming financially. And then you can either prepare for it or not. And I'm telling you right now, everywhere, it's coming like a freight train. And they're sitting there having a virtual meeting in Jackson Hole where Jay Powell's going to say absolutely nothing. He's going to say that we've made progress. But he's not going to say if it's significant enough progress. And we've got all of our tools available. And yes, we've started talking about maybe tapering maybe win sometime. Maybe tapering. Listen, they shouldn't be buying anything at all. Inflation is coming like a freight train. Social Security payments are going to go up over 6%. You know what that's going to do to the trust fund? That didn't exist, the fake trust fund? Shh. Don't tell them. You have no idea what would happen to this country if the Fed's funds rate had to go to just 2 or 3%. It would be devastation. And it's going to happen. We are going to have massive inflation, followed by a depression probably worse than what we saw in the 30s. That's what's coming. Because this is all just a big fluff piece. Just like the baker and the stripper couldn't afford 5 houses. We can't afford this debt. It's not even close. And here's the thing, they're acting like it doesn't matter. Now when you have the obvious signs of inflation, what are they doing? Nothing. Because they don't care. They're just hoping, well, it'll end sooner or later. Will it? Well, they're right about that. Sooner or later, it will end. But the problem is, it's going to wipe us all out. That's what it's designed to do. All fiat money goes to zero. Why does fiat money go to zero? Well, eventually they print so much of it, it doesn't buy anything anymore. Kind of like where we're sitting today, isn't it? Just doesn't buy what it used to. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Afghanistan now 43 dead, 130 wounded. The vast majority of those are in critical condition. So it looks like that death toll is going to continue to rise. Taliban has condemned the attacks, and I don't mean to laugh about it, but the bombing of civilians in Kabul took place in an area where U.S. forces were responsible for security, according to the Taliban. As again, we have a president that's not capable. We have a Federal Reserve that is completely compromised. I've warned you about Janet Yellen for at least a decade. She is the most powerful person in the world and has Jay Powell under her thumb. They're not going to stop inflation until it's way too late. It's already too late. This is the problem. It's already too late. It's what comes after that you need to get ready for. And that's where you come in. That's why you put your money here. There's another financial crisis. Listen, with this digital money, you watch. We're going to lose thousands of banks again. We won't need them. Be very careful where you have your money. And make sure your backside is protected. Today, U.S. $10 liberties. $10 liberties today at 1,040. 1,040 at 800-951-0592. We have 20. We're down. We got 25 rolls of the new Type 2 U.S. Silver Eagles. This is all we're going to have for the week. We can't book any more for the rest of this week, and then we'll have to wait till Monday. Right now, they're $6.85 a roll. 800-951-0592. Like I said, gold's up today. $17.93 right now on gold. Silver is down a little bit today, $23.60. And Wall Street is lower, not a lot, but it's down 75 points. S&P's down 13, NASDAQ's down 34 points as the meeting in Jackson Hole has started. The Fed governors are talking now. We just heard from Kaplan now. He's worried about inflation. He wants taper. Bullard wants taper. So they've let the hawks come out first. We'll wait to hear what Jay Powell has to say. But remember what Gunlot said about taper. Interest rates are going to fall. It's going to be the inverse of what you think's going to happen. And I think you're going to see rates falling, Wall Street falling, and falling a lot more than people anticipate. Because everybody, they understand. We can't take away the punch bowl. Because if we take away the punch bowl, That's when the collapse is going to happen. How long can they delay? That's really all I'm saying. I've given you the time, 1 to 6 years. That's my opinion. That's about as long as they can delay. My guess is on the shorter end of that as well. 800-951-0592. God bless everybody. One more show tomorrow.